Hi, my name is Swordsboy and I've been a Trickster player since he came out, clocking in as many hours as I can of this K-pop killer, and I'm wanting to quickly put a word here before we begin. By no means is this a definitive guide on how you should play the killer. This is merely tips and pointers to get you in the right direction and to be able to enjoy the killer more than what some people may lead you to believe. Of course, this being the case, do not expect this guide to make you an all-kill in the space of a night. You need to practice your aim and your fundamentals of killer in order to get the most bang for your buck. With that being said, if you're looking for more advice on Trickster, you can catch me at my streams at twitch.tv/sodsboy, or you can shoot me a quick message on Discord with links being in the description. If you need some advice, I'd be more than willing to help you with all your knife throwing needs. Now let the show begin. The Trickster's power is split up into two sections, Showstopper and Main Event, but let's just begin with Showstopper. Showstopper gives you 60 knives that you can prepare to throw by holding your power button. This will have Trickster prepare a knife, to which you can press your attack button to throw a knife. You can choose to throw one knife or a flurry of knives, with a flurry being less accurate due to recoil, and eventually after throwing too many knives, you'll slow down. Once out of knives, you can resupply your knives at any locker on the map, and auras will be shown to you once you've reached 15 knives. Seems pretty neat, huh? So what happens when a survivor is hit by a knife? You may notice a small circle begin to fill up around the survivor's icon. This is a survivor's laceration meter that fills up as you hit survivors with knives. At base, it takes 8 knives to fully lacerate a survivor, which will injure or down them depending on what health state they're in. Both survivors and killers can see how full the laceration meter is and how many knives are needed to injure or down. However, after 20 seconds of not being hit with a knife, the laceration will start to decay slowly, even slower if the survivor is sprinting. This encourages the Trickster to actively pepper his target with odd knives during a chase to threaten the injury or down. That's pretty much the simple way of putting Showstopper. Throw knives and get injuries and downs on survivors after enough knives have landed. Let's talk about Main Event. You may have noticed that there is a white bar filling around your power meter. This indicates how near you are to achieving the main event. It takes roughly 20 knives to charge it, and once you've got it charged, you'll be able to use it within a 10-second window. So what happens during Main Event, though? A multitude of things occur when you activate Main Event, but here's the definitive list. You get to throw an unlimited amount of knives, and you throw them at a faster rate without consuming any ammo previously. You suffer no penalty to movement from throwing an excessive amount of knives. This only applies to throwing an excessive amount of knives. This doesn't apply to the initial slowdown that happens when you pull out a knife. You'll know you've got Main Event when the screen border turns a vivid yellow and an audio cue will signal that you're able to activate it. This is a case of use it or lose it. This is the main thing with it. You either use it within the 10-second window, or you have to spend the next 20 knife hits building it back up again. We'll go over when to use it later on in the guide. And once you've used Main Event, you'll suffer a short fatigue and be unable to throw any more knives for 5 seconds, regardless of how many knives you currently have on you. That's the basic fundamentals of Main Event and Showstopper. Now let's hop backstage and see what add-ons you should use. Considering what add-ons you should use on Trickster, I have a few solid recommendations that make playing Trickster fairly easier. The first 2 add-ons I'd like to recommend are the Fist Spin Soda and G-Wounds Autograph. These 2 add-ons in particular speed up the initial throw rate of your blades, allowing you to sneak in an extra 1 to 3 knives if you can catch a survivor vaulting a window or pallet. Combine them both if you want to be able to reach maximum throwing speed easier. The next add-on is the Melodious Murder. This add-on is considered by many to be his best add-on for one simple reason. It now takes 7 knives to fully lacerate a survivor instead of 8, allowing you to waste less knives and be more of a threat around specific loops. The next 2 add-ons are ones that I recommend for newer players picking up Trickster, and that is the Bloody Boa and the Trick Pouch. Simply put, more knives. Nothing wrong with being able to carry more on you, which reduces the need to go to lockers and allows for more mistakes to be made before needing to reload. There's one add-on that I'd like to discuss though, and it's kind of a bit of a debate around Trickster players, and that's being the Trick Blades. I saved the little section because I wanted to put my own opinion on this add-on. Most think it should be base kit with this simply adding another bounce. My take is that this add-on is very situational at best, and actually more of a hindrance to use, as it can enable bad habits such as throwing too many knives or forcing yourself to go for bounces. Is this a bad add-on? No, it isn't. But take care in using this too often. I suggest taking the time to learn some map geometry and seeing if this best fits your playstyle with Trickster. But to me, I tend to put these away for rainy days or when I'm feeling like watching the knives bounce around the place. The 2 ultra rares for Trickster, that being the Iridescent Photo Card and the Death Throes compilation, Honestly, these add-ons adjust your playstyle a lot when it comes to using Showstopper, with Iridescent Photo Card making it so you have to count to 7 knives to be rewarded with an insta-down on a 110 killer that struggles at long loops and jungle gyms. Yeah, you can do the math on that one. Whereas Death Throws encourages a more sniper style of play, rewarding multiple hits with a potential 4-knife laceration. Use these at your own discretion, just know that you'll have to adjust your mindset in order to make the best use of these. I want to finish this guide off with a few more general tips and what perks to consider, since I can't account for every situation you'll find yourself in with Trickster. For starters, stop using your knives as if they're hatchets. They're not. You are not Huntress who can easily down people across the map. You are a K-pop idol who needs to get somewhat close to medium range in order to be much of a threat. Only real reason you should be going for long range knives is in order to refresh the 20-second laceration decay timer on a target you intend to chase or down. Or if you already have their laceration meter full, then you can throw a few knives to see if you can get a cheeky down. Next, know that some loops you can't use your power. This applies to most killers, but on certain tiles and loops, you just won't be able to pull out knives to threaten the survivor with, and you'll have to resort to being a 110% M1 killer for a brief moment. Of course, if you find a moment where you can sneak a knife in, then by all means go for it. Just know when to pull your knives out, and just when to swing with the bat. Thirdly, learn when to ditch a chase. It sucks to admit, but sometimes you'll bump into that one Jake or Claudette or Nia who knows how to run you around most tiles and won't allow you to get knives into them. In these situations, it's better to just cut your losses and just run for a different survivor to chase. This applies more so for Trickster due to how daunting it can feel being ran for 2 to 3 gens, because that one guy understood that line of sight blockers exist and that they're your biggest counter. Finally, reload when you need to, not when you want to. Always make sure you have enough knives to injure or down a survivor, or at least be able to make a few mistakes. I tend to reload as soon as my knives drop below 10, but if you've got a brief moment to yourself, then locate your nearest locker and stock back up on knives. Let's talk about perks. Knowing your killer is half the battle, but perks are able to elevate you to new heights. I'm going to show you a few builds that I use on Trickster that you may find success on. Keep in mind that you should run what you feel benefits your playstyle as a killer. The first build is my generic all-around build. This is the build I use in most of my games, and it has the 4 main perks: Corrupt Intervention, Monitor and Abuse, Pop Goes the Weasel, and Barbecue and Chili. Corrupt Intervention is a must-have for Trickster, regardless of the build, stopping the 3 furthest generators from being done for 2 minutes. Pop Goes the Weasel is for more control around generators that are being worked on outside of your Corrupt split, and for when the generator count is nearing 1 to 2 gens left. Monitor and Abuse is surprisingly effective. Reducing your terror radius from 24 meters to 60 meters allows you to sneak up on survivors and catch them off guard. This is especially true for Trickster due to how quiet his actual terror radius music is. Barbecue and Chili is here for blood points and for being able to identify gens being worked on in the distance. Of course, you can replace this perk with whatever you need. The second build I'm showing off today is the Mass Slowdown build. This build is when you need a lot of slowdown because you're either being pressured a lot or you just aren't feeling confident about your gen control. Once again, we have Corrupt Intervention to block the 3 furthest generators away for 2 minutes, but we have Hex Ruin for passive regression. We have Pop Goes the Weasel, as explained before, to pop gens that are away from your Corrupt split, and in case if Ruin gets destroyed early, this is kind of your plan B. And we also have Tinkerer, to grant you the undetectable status for 16 seconds when a generator is nearing 70% completion. This allows you to once again sneak up to a generator, but also allows you to either pop it or fight the survivors off of it with Ruin. The third build is a newer build for new Trickster players that may not have all the teachables unlocked. We're going to be using 2 of the Trickster's teachables, that being No Way Out, to delay the game for 42 seconds as long as you're able to gain 4 hooks. We're using Hex Crowd Control to block window vaults that may be problematic, such as Killer Shack, T&L walls, and so on and so forth. Then we're using Sloppy Butcher as our main game slowdown by applying the Mangled and Hemorrhage status effect to survivors. Now, the last perk, Spies from the Shadows, I would highly suggest you swap this to Whispers if you are able to use Whispers. But in case you aren't, Spies from the Shadows is really good as the crows will audibly and visually alert you to where survivors may be. The last build I want to talk to you about is the build that I call the Fame Devourer. This relies upon Hex Devour Hope, Hex Undying, Save the Best for Last, and once again, Corrupt Intervention. We use Corrupt Intervention to stop the early game, and what we're doing is we're relying on Hex Devour Hope's free token exposed effect in order to snowball the game out of control. With this, we're using Hex Undying to protect Hex Devour Hope, and Save the Best for Last is here because we're going to be M1ing a lot. We're not necessarily going to be using our knives, but we are going to be basic attacking quite frequently. Thanks for watching until the end. I hope this guide allows you to improve at your Trickster performance. Once again, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to catch my stream or ask me on Discord. This has been a blast to create, and credits to the screenshots of add-ons go to the Dead by Daylight Gamepedia. I've been Sodsboy, and I hope you give the survivors a performance worth dying for.